Just a brief moment to mention that this video is of course sponsored by Outplayed. This is a new app or recent app that is now being used by many people across the world for their gaming recordings. Now, not just to record and then edit and upload like you would normally do if you were a YouTuber, a Twitch streamer, or just in general using it as a hobby, but this is something that will capture your favorite moments automatically depending on the game. It will actually track what you're doing. So it will notice if you get headshots, kills, wins, losses, or deaths, and it will actually automatically capture those moments so you can save them in a folder for later. Upload it straight to YouTube, Twitter, Discord, including individual specific channels for your convenience. Get the app today with a link down below and start recording your clips. Welcome back, everyone. Today is a video about basic controls, stats, all those types of things that people don't quite understand when they start the game. And some people don't get it when they've been in the game for a very long time. So a lot of the time on stream, I get asked, what add-ons are you using? Should I use this? Should I use that? The stuff you're seeing is base game. But we're going to make sense of that in a moment. So we're going to make a new character. If you're on the public test server, by the way, this is also a tip. Most people struggle to find where you make a full brand new character with all the CPs. So if you're on the control pad, hit the back button. If you're on regular PC UI, then there's a drop-down menu on the left-hand side. And you can make it however the hell you want to make it. So, for argument's sake, we're going to first of all go on a fully pledged character, completely done with a random name. Now, when you get into the game with a full character on PTS, yes, you'll have full champion points. If you're just starting the game on any server, of course, your champion points will carry over if you've already got a character. If not, you'll start the game just like you normally would. But regardless of whether you're making a new character, messing around on the public test server, or whatever, you will have the same options. So you'll start with a bare or blank canvas as far as your stats and everything are concerned. So if you look at my health bar, my stam bar, and even my mag bar, which is not up at the moment, they look quite plain. So we've got a couple of skills on here so we can actually demonstrate some of this. Stats do not matter right now. We are literally just demonstrating for the purpose of doing so. Mag ability, that can go there. Actually, we need something we can cast. That one. A stamina ability, so we'll put vigor or something on. Where have you gone? There. And we need a health ability, so we'll put the blood funnel on from Undaunted. That way we can see our health bars, stam bars, all that good stuff. So magical bar, you can see, health bar, stam bar. They all look quite flat. So how do you change that without add-ons? So if you're on gamepad mode, you go down to options and you go down to combat. If you're on PC and using regular PC UI, then of course you hit the escape key, you go down to settings, and you go down to combat, same place basically. And you've got loads of options here. But also, you've got loads of options in your gameplay as well. So there's lots of different areas where you might want to look into first of all, before you start playing the game or before you start with a new character. And the combat stuff we are going to come back to. But we are first of all going to look at the gameplay options because this is very, very important. Especially for those of you that are colorblind or just want a different color for the visuals that you can see. So here, under combat, under the gameplay section, on the PC UI, or on the control UI, same place, you will see a setting which will allow you to change the colors of your friendly colors and your enemy colors. So you can change it to whatever you want, really, but this will carry over on your whole account. But you can change the brightness of it, so it can be really, really low or really, really high, and you can test it here to see what it looks like. Or you can do this with the enemy one. You can test that as well to see what it looks like as well. So your negative telegraphs and your positive telegraphs, positive, negative, good job. Those will basically stay with you for the rest of the game until you change them. So use something that works for you. Make sure it makes sense, obviously, to your eyes and, of course, the surrounding area around your character. Because if it's bright red and you're in a red area, you're not going to be able to see it. If it's bright red and you're colorblind and can't see red, you can change it to blue or maybe green or something or other. You get the idea. I don't need to tell you how to do that. Those are the colors. And again, same on control pad. Sorry, my words are a bit fluffed today. Scroll down, same option. And yes, you get to test it just like you did before. It looks a little different, but the scroll bars are there. The option is there. It's exactly the bloody same. Now, when it comes to the combat side of things, like I said a moment ago, we're going to come back to it, which is what we're now doing. This area here, very, very important. So your ability bar. At the moment, you might see that my ability bar is not actually showing at all. I'm just casting skills. Well, that's because it's turned off. So, go into settings, go into combat, and go into this. Automatic will put it on when stuff really happens. At the moment, I'm just standing on my own. Nothing's happening. If I get in combat, it will come on. What we can do is have it always showing or automatic. Those two ones are the most common. So always, it will never go away. Automatic, when you're in combat, it'll show. Don't show, obviously, blank. So I tend to put it on automatic or always show. Always show is quite good, but if you want to take screenshots, automatic is fine. But you have timers. So as you can see here, if we go back into the skills, you get into combat or something or other. Can I hit you? Yes. Okay, now you can see my bars. Now, if I have my ability running, you can see that Vigor is running, but I don't know how long it's going to last. What am I supposed to do? Haven't got a clue. So we'll heavy attack him to death for the moment. In fact, we won't. We'll just let him hit us. Go into here. And change it so your timers are on. Now watch. Vigor. I now have a timer that I can track. So nice and easy. Now the other option next to this is your back bar timers. So you're going to combat. Same on console as well, or gamepad UI. Back bar row. So if you were to have a skill on the back or the front, if I cast this, then swap bars, look very carefully. Nothing. Failed. There it goes. Excuse the PTS. So when you cast an ability on either bar, when you swap to the other one, it will show a loading bar going downwards, showing you how long is left. So that is also very important to know. If you have the back bar one on, it will show you when you swap your previous skills that are already active and how long is left on them. You need to die. We'll light attack him to death with 300 DPS. Now, gotta love PTS for its bugs or features. The other part that's important is your attribute bars. As you saw earlier, they were on automatic because they only apply when I do something. So if I activate a skill, it pops up. If I'm not doing any skills, it will go away. You can change that to automatic like it is now. Don't show, as in never see them, or always show. Personally, for me, I always show the bars because I like to see them, but again, it's up to you. Now the next part, resource numbers. This is the big one. They're off at the moment, so my bars are blank. They are just red, green, and blue. But if you have it as number only, you'll see here that I have the exact number of whatever resource I have. So I have 23.2k health. Yes, they round that up. I have 19.9k magicka, and I have 14.6k stam. But what about if you want to work on percentages, and you don't want to deal with the actual digits, because you can't figure out how much everything costs anyway. But you want to be somewhat aware of what you've got. Well, then you can change that too. You can put that to percentage only instead. That way, if you're basing on health percentages and such, like a heal is stronger under 50% or whatever, then of course you can see what your bars are doing. Now, what about if you wanted both? Well, you can do that too. So you can go into combat again, and you can change it to both. And as you can see, I have both. I can see the number, I can see the percentage, I can see the color. Everything is there. So if I was to activate a skill that costs health, for example, I can see I've got 16.8k left, 16.6 even, and that's going up and up and up. Heals nice and quick. But you can see the percentage going down at the same time. So now you can track things more in depth. Tricky to explain that. Don't know why. Now, active combat tips, you want automatic, because that will remind you of blocks, dodges, interrupts, all that kind of stuff in the early days, and then eventually it will fade out. But if you have it as don't show or always show will always prompt you when you have these things happening. Automatic, occasionally, don't show, never. Now, if you want to track your ultimates, of course, that's another option as well. As you can see here, this ultimate is going to cost me, wrong button. This ultimate is going to cost me in total 141, but you can see all my bars there. It doesn't tell me that. It just says, hey, there's a yellow bar growing around that square. When it goes ding, you can use it. Well, again, same applies. Go into your settings, go into combat, and put it on. Simple as that. Now, I believe this should alter that, actually. That used to, I don't know if it does anymore. It used to give you a percentage there, but it looks like they've changed that, because this now actually does full out not affect this resource numbers set at all, and it just shows you the flat out ultimate numbers on or off. Nice and simple. All this stuff here is important. People say, how do you show damage numbers when you're hitting stuff? Yellow numbers, orange numbers, whatever come up when you hit stuff. All this stuff, most of it is on as standard now. It didn't used to be, but it is now. But there are others. So pet damage over time, pet healing over time, all that kind of stuff. You can see those if you're interested. If these aren't on already, you can turn them on and off. And of course, some of the more important ones, especially this, because I do have this active on my account by default, this show overhealing. If you're a healer, or even if you're not, and you want to see if your heals are actually affecting people and how much they're doing, generally speaking, it will only show you the heal while they are not 100%. But if you show overhealing, then you can see that it's still affecting them. That way you can actually optimize your characters. If you feel like you're overhealing too much and you don't want to, and you want to be more optimized towards just keeping them at 100%, and that's pretty much it, no massive over the top, then you can alter for that, or just track it in general. This is massive. This is very important. And for this one, we're going to go to the target dummy, because this is something that is very active in combat, and it's something that over time you'll learn to utilize effectively, let's say. So we're going to go to a house. Nothing major in my house, so not really a tour as such. But people ask me all the time, what add-ons are you using to track your buffs and bonuses? Well, as you just saw, damage numbers for damage over time, single target, crits, all that kind of stuff, that's base game. The colors for your AoEs, that's base game. Your numbers and percentages, that's base game. But this is the big one. So look very carefully on the bottom of the screen where my bars are. As you can see here, Vigor has a timer. And we can track that. But where are my buffs and bonuses? As with this does have effects with it. Where are they? Well, I'm going to settings. I'm going to combat again. Go to buffs and debuffs. Don't show is default. For anyone that's just started the game or made a new character, don't show is default. You've got automatic, so they only really show when you're doing something, or always show. I tend to always show them because I like to see them. Now, if we alter these so they're all off for the time being, we can mess with them a little bit. So self buffs on, as you can see. Self debuffs also on. That's a negative or a positive. So Vigor is healing us, and now you can see on our buff timers there, that is active. More buffs, active. You can track them not only in the ability timer, but you can track them in your buff timers as well. So these are present whenever something positive or negative affects you. Generally speaking, the negative effects will be on the very end on the far right-hand side. So if it's a very important mechanic, like the twins in VMAR where you change colors, or the big meteor bubble thing that you have to blow up in the Versailles fight in Rockgrove, the negative effect for that will be on the very, very end, as will curses and all that good stuff. Now, the important stuff is, we need the dummy for this, because otherwise you aren't going to see it, is the debuff application of you and your group. What is present and what is not. So that can also factor into actual buffs as well, because sometimes they attach to the target and then you benefit from them. But as you can see, this target dummy has no buffs or debuffs underneath that health bar. None. Nothing at all. Even if we hit it, we get loads of buffs. But only our self buffs are showing. So, if you go into settings, go into combat, this can get a little bit fluffy, but don't worry, I'm going to help you with this one.
Result,
you can put
4138 DPS, 1.0S, target Iron Atronach, trial.
Shut up. Long effect buffs are things that last longer than a minute. So, especially food and bits and pieces like that. That's obviously going to go on. They will be shown in here if they need to be. Target debuffs and target debuffs from others are very important. These ones are the ones you want to pay attention to. So target debuffs, as you can see, we have loads of buffs and bonuses now on our bar because we've got the longer duration ones. They come from this dude. They're positives. They're for us. And this dude hasn't got anything on him at all. We aren't applying any debuffs, so we can't see them. But if you were to apply a debuff, you would then see it above his head. Well, above his health bar. Actually, below it. So what we'll do is we'll put on one skill here that will allow for us to apply a debuff. That feature is really helpful, but shut up! We need to turn that off. We'll show you that in the video as well, if we can find it. Let's see. So Veiled Strike and Concealed Weapon. No, wrong one. Never mind. We'll find another one. Two-hander. We'll put a bleed on it. So Cleave has Carve. So look above his head. Technically underneath his health bar. See that stacking effect? Which now has 1 in it, has 2 in it, has 3 in it, and a continued damage over time. That is your debuffs. Yours. Now, what about if your group put buffs and debuffs on and you want to track those too? Go into combat. All the way down. From others. activate. Now, look at his health bar. You can see that he's got different ones on there, multiple different ones. Not massively over the top, long-term ones, but just the shorter ones overall. Now, here's a really important one. Mostly for yourself and for the target dummy, but you don't have to have this in content if you don't want them to, but it is actually quite helpful if you understand what they all mean. Permanent effects. Now, there is a side effect to this. If you have ESO Plus, that will constantly be a buff. If you have a Mundus Stone, that will constantly show. But permanent effects on show all the things that stay with you forever, especially if you have the 1-bar mythic ring. All your buffs will be present all the time, so you can see where they are and what they do and all the rest of it, which is in here, by the way. Any that are present, you can read up on them in your character sheet if they are currently active.
1,654.2 DPS, 1 minute and 7 seconds. Target Iron Atronach, trial.
But now you can see that the group debuffs are on the target and the permanent debuffs are on the target. So you've got several different sections here. You've got your own buffs, your own debuffs, other people's buffs and debuffs, and then longer or permanent debuffs as well. They're loosely the same thing. This will look confusing to the inexperienced player or the newer player, but this actually helps you a hell of a lot in the future when you start getting into more difficult content. Being able to notice what each buff and debuff does and being able to spot when it's active and when it's not can allow you to take advantage of certain things within combat situations. So for example, just a brief one, off balance is a buff or debuff effect that affects the target. If the target is off balance, and yes, you get taught this in a tutorial, they will be off balance for 7 seconds and they will have a 15-second immunity phase. While they're off balance, your heavy attacks do a lot more damage and you get double resources back. And if you have Empower, you do even more damage with that heavy attack. These are opportunities that you need to take advantage of. Without seeing the buff and debuff timers, you won't be able to do that because you won't know when it's happening. But if you look at this dummy now, he's going to have a debuff above his head. It's going to be a blue kind of background with someone's head in it and stars are going around it. Left-hand side, that is off balance. You can track that because you can see this. When it runs out, there is an immunity time. You see the buff changed to that obnoxious dude standing there with his arms on his hips or hands on his hips. That is now, you can't make him off balance for that period of time. Those types of things can get complicated to start with because there are many, many, many different variants to that kind of thing in the game. There's lots of buffs, lots of debuffs, lots of short ones, lots of long ones, lots of permanent ones. There's lots to pay attention to. We're not going to go over them all today. But having the option to view them will get you into the swing of understanding what is and isn't present at the time so you can take advantage of it. At the same time, that's also good for composition because you can really see what your group is and isn't bringing and kind of work around it. Anyway, couple more we want to go into. So we've got the voiceover, which is very, very new. I think that's an interface because it's really new. You've got chat bubbles, obviously, which are quite handy. You can see people talking with chat bubbles above their head if you want to. You've got your compass and everything and your quest tracker. You can turn them on or off. Again, gamepad mode, this does exist there as well. PC has this, but console doesn't with the latency and the frame rate. Social, this is where it is. You can change your colors of your chat. That can also be done on console as well, by the way, but it's a little bit different. Now, on console, of course, that's in options and social, and you can change all this stuff here. Both of them have the same features. They just look a little different UI-wise. I'm trying to find that voiceover one because that is very, very new. Accessibility. There we go. In accessibility, you've got voice speed. You've got the male or female option. You can alter the volume of it. That's all there. That is very, very new, and that is coming with the new update. That's not currently live, but you can do it for zone chat. You can do it not for zone chat. You can do it for the narrator. You can turn it on or off. It's entirely up to you. Accessibility mode on and off is something that was added recently, so your whole account can share the same options to some extent, but hopefully that underlines some of the pain points of what to do when you first start and how to set your character up for combat. One more massive thing is this. How do you do that? And how do you do this? Lots of people get confused about how to zoom in and out. So on PC, it's not quite so difficult. You can literally just zoom in with the mouse wheel and zoom out again, or bind it to whatever you want. Or you can have a key that will go first person, third person. You can change your key bindings in here by going to, where's it gone? Controls and keybinds. It will be in here. But on console, you press down on your D-pad once. That will put you into this mode. Press down on your D-pad again, put you into this mode. Or if you want to alter the distance of it, hold down on the D-pad and go forwards or backwards. That is in some of the newer tutorials, but if you've been playing for a long time, or if you did the older one, if you didn't have the chapters and such, then of course that won't be obvious to you. That is something that people ask all the time, because most players, when they first start, end up having the camera stuck about here, and they spend most of the game looking over their shoulder, and they can't see what's under their feet. So hopefully that helped. Anyway, people, thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate support. If you are not subscribing on YouTube or following on Twitch, which I am now back to streaming, by the way, after recovering from surgery, obviously hit those buttons, they are free. And of course, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com, where all the written guides are, and you can find me on Instagram as well. Thank you very much for watching again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.